going to do is I'm going to get started on the weaving process. The first thing I want to do is I want to take some contrast thread, which is relatively the same thickness. The scarf, if you recall, is using 8-10 cell. And so I'm just going to use 8-2 cotton here. It's approximately the same thickness. I'm going to do a few rows of that, maybe about 1/2 inch to 1 inch, just to secure it so that when I do remove it off the loom later on, it's not going to interfere with, you know, the beginning of my project. I do have fringes at the ends, both ends basically. I will be doing a hem stitch because I will be doing a fringe, obviously, for the scarf at the end there. Okay. So right now, as you can see here, we've got the actual levers, which is very different for me. I'm used to my floor loom, as you know, so it's gonna take me a while to get used to that, basically. And so what I've done here to keep myself straight is I've basically put lever 1 basically is going to deal with harnesses 1, 3, and 4. Lever 2 is going to deal with harnesses 2, 4, and 5, and all the way down basically. There are basically 8 levers, and they are tied up to various ones. Okay, I am only using 6 harnesses though out of the 8 harnesses, so generally speaking, I should not actually, I won't be, for the most part, I won't be using 7 and 8. It looks like I'm using basically 1, 2, 6. The 7 and 8 will be used for plain weave. Okay. I've got my treadling order, and so instead of writing down all the harnesses, I figured that would be too cumbersome. So what I did basically is that based on the actual number on the levers there, I've just done that. So it says 7 and 8. I need to do that 25 times. Okay. And then I need to do levers. So I've got to do number 6, which is going to be requiring harness 2, 3, and 6. I think what I'm going to do though is I'm going to label these just to make life simpler for me instead of always having to count which number I'm at to make sure I don't make any mistakes. So let me get set up and then we'll come back and get started. Okay, so basically I went back and I numbered all of them. Basically this one here, as you can see, which is label number 1, is obviously bringing down harness number 1 and so forth. Typically when I start and I'm using my contrast thread, I typically start on the left hand side and I go to the right. But again, I would imagine you can obviously start from the other side as well. Okay. You will notice here, this thread right here is my floating selvage. So I use usually like little leftover pill bottles with some pennies in it. And then I basically hang them off. They are hanging off the back. If you're not seeing this in the middle of your shed, then obviously you're missing a floating selvage. Okay. Should this ever get broken for whatever reason, or lose its tension, because sometimes, again, it's going off the end of the table. As I lift it, it may hit the table and the pill bottle may open and fall off. And that's happened before. And all of a sudden I can't see my floating selvage. So then I know something's wrong, go back and check. Okay. I don't care about leaving an end on this side because, again, it's contrast thread. It's going to come out at the, out in the end anyways. Okay. So I'm hoping. All right. So when you use a floating selvage, I've talked about this before. One side is going to go over the floating selvage. The other side will come underneath the floating selvage. So as long as you're remembering over, under, no matter what side you're starting, you're going to be good to go. Okay. So let's go over, under. Okay. All right. And for the contrast thread, what I usually do is I go through a couple of them to try and straighten everything out, because you can notice everything is in a kind of a V shape. We don't want threads to be in a V shape. We want all the threads to be coming down straight. Okay. So let's go back again. I need to now put these ones down. Oh, well, let's put these levers down. I'm going to go to 8. 8 requires me to do 2, 4, and 6. So I'm going to go back over the floating selvage, under the floating selvage. Okay. Typically, again, when I'm going across, oh, hold on, what's going on here? Why are these twisted? Okay. So for whatever reason, when I tied these up on the front, they are twisted here. They're not twisted, they're not twisted, thank goodness, through the heddles. No, everything's good. Ooh, okay. All right, so basically I'm going to bring this down. Okay. It's starting, as you can see, starting to get straighter. It is not exactly, okay, it's not great here. All right, I'm going to do definitely a few more. Okay, I was doing some, and I realized from the distance you may not have seen exactly what I was doing, but I'll just do a couple more here. So basically, I've just done, oh, I lost track of which one I was on here. So we had 7, 8, 7, 8. So this guy, I need to do 7, which is 1, 3, and 5. All right, so now I'm going to put it through, over, and under. Again, I always hold it at the end here, so that I know I don't want it to pull in substantially, and I don't want it to have a huge loop on the end. So I put it sideways this way, sorry, like slanted, okay? And then basically it should be. So it's possible that this may need to be tightened just a little bit more, okay? All right, and then basically the next one is the 8, which is harnesses 2, 4, and 6, okay? All right. Okay, there we go. Okay. So again, I'm thinking that this is probably enough. I might do a little bit more, to be perfectly honest. Okay, you're going to notice at the end of my contrast threads here, I've left intentionally some loops here, because what I'm going to do is that I'm going to want to start with a hem stitch, and in order to be able to do that, I'm going to take out the last 2 rows just to give me some space when I finally do give the hem stitch to be able to kind of go down, okay? So in order to do that, I usually, even though usually I go through the left side to start, I'm actually going to go in through the right-hand side, because being right-handed with the right-hand stitch, I do need to have a tail that's about 4 times the width of my project, okay? So what I want to do right now is I'm going to measure that out, okay? And so I've got 1, 2, 3, and 4. And again, not the end of the world. I'm just going to remember this here and hold on to this, okay? And then I'm just going to basically put it through. Now the first line that I actually need is number 6. So number 6 is telling me that I need to pull down the levers for number 2, 3, and 6, which I've just done, okay? So again, I'm going to go over my selvage on this side. I'm going to come out with under my selvage on that side. I'm going to hold this here because I need it to be this long. So in my excitement to start the project, of course, I went right on to, I passed a section of plain weave, because I'd done plain weave here, again, completely forgetting there was a contrast thread, and that had nothing to do with my scarf. So I started right away into the pattern. So I actually have to go backwards now. So I had just finished with 1, where I realized my mistake. Remember, I was going 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So I've gone backwards because all the levers are already, all the harnesses are in the right place to go backwards, right? So now, in order to go, I'm just going to literally go back and forth. So the one before that would have been 2, so that was basically 2, 4, and 5. So let me reuse those ones. Okay, and I'm basically going to slowly be kind of, oops, oh, hold on here, this thing's tangled. I'm going to be slowly putting things back on the bobbin, okay? All right, until I get back to that first line that I started, okay? So again, I can pull it out, all right? And if I have the correct ones lifted, it will pull out smoothly, okay? But again, remember with the over and under with the selvage, I've got to look at this. So this one here, according to this, it is underneath the selvage. All right, so I'm going to go underneath the selvage to go backwards, which means I have to go over the selvage here to make sure things don't get tangled up. And they came out smoothly, okay? Now I'm going to go back to the third one, which is 3, 5, and 6. Okay. All right. And again, is this one going to pull away smoothly? Yes, it does. So I've got them correct. So I'm going to check. This one is below, okay, the selvage, which means this one has to go over the selvage. I'm going to pull it out. Okay. Ooh. Sorry. There we go. Okay. And then again, as it gets longer, I'm going to obviously wind up my bobbin here because it's starting to get caught on different things, which irritates me. Okay. There we go. Okay. And I'm just going to keep going backwards until I have that first row that I went across. I'm going to still leave this here because, again, that's going to be my, for my hem stitching that I'll be doing after I do the 25 rows of 7/8. So let me do that, and then I'll come back and I'll show you about the hem stitching. Hopefully there's no more screw-ups between now and then. All right, see ya in a second. Okay, so basically, I wanted to do the 25 rows of plain weave here. I was starting to run out of space. My shed was actually starting to get a little narrow for me. I think I should have probably used a stick shuttle with this kind of loom. I only have the boat shuttles, unfortunately, for my my floor loom there, but it is what it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to snip these two loops. Now, if this had been thicker thread, chances are I wouldn't necessarily need to do these loops, but I'd be afraid of you know, trying to find the one that I need to cut and you know, end up cutting some actual thread. So let me do that, and then I'm going to do these two here. Make sure I do not cut that one. There we go. Okay, and I'm hoping that it will come out nicely with my luck. Of course it's not. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to, there we go, here I've got one of these. Okay, so which one is it that I'm looking at here? If I look at this, I think it's this one here. Yeah, so I'm going to pull that through. Okay, pull, okay. Alright, and okay, let's see if I take this one here, pull that across, for example, and this one here also is a contrast thread there, so I'm going to try pulling these two across as I go across. So I'm going to take these two out, and then I'll come back and we'll take a look. I'm going to also thread my actual thread that I need for the hem stitch. Okay? Okay, so let's start with the hem stitching here. The first thing I want to do, okay, is I want to take this first thread, all right, and I'm going to do a lock stitch. I'm just going to basically go through the last thread. Oop. Okay. Pull it through, all right, and then just make a little knot, all right, so it kind of locks it in place, all right, there we go. Okay, now the first thing you want to do is you're going to go across a certain number. You choose what that thickness of your fringe is going to be. I've got basically 209 threads going across, so I'm going to go in sections of 10, which will make it easier for me. I did check what the thickness of 10 would be, basically, and it's going to be a twisted fringe, so I wanted to see what the thickness would be, and it seems fine for me. Okay, so I'm going to go across, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 9, 10. So going across would be here, but I don't go across there. I need to go up. So I'm going to go up 2 rows. So 1, and then here is 2 rows. Okay? So I'm going to pull that through. This is one thing I'm not very fond of. Okay. All right. Okay, so basically I've gone across. All right, I've gone up 2. What I'm going to do is I'm going to, go back where I went in, which basically was on the end, okay? This time I'm going to go across the 10, but I'm going to stay on the main line. I'm not going to go up, basically up 2, okay? So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I'm coming up right here. I'm going to put this thread underneath my needle, so it makes a little bit of a knot, all right? And this is going to cinch, all right? And this keeps getting tangled. Let's go on to the next. So I'm going to go to the hole that's beside me here. I'm going to count across 10. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, but I want to go up 2. So I'm going to go 1, 2. Okay, right there. All right. Going to go in through the hole that I went, which is here, but this time I'm going to go just along the main line. The thread is going to go underneath. All right. Oops. There we go. And I'm going to pull it through. Okay. Okay. Now it looks quite possible. All right. A lot of people will do their fringes with like 4 or 5 threads, so it does look fairly thick. I will be going back and doing like a knotted fringe, so there will be a knot actually holding this, okay? So I'm going to do this all the way across, basically until I get to the other end. Once I get to the other end, all right, on the other end, I'm going to end obviously here as my last stitch, and then once that's done, I'm going to basically just kind of go in and out, sew in and out for about an inch, and then cut off the thread so that it disappears into the actual hem here. So I do have a video which actually uses larger threads, which shows in a lot better detail than what you're seeing here. So I would encourage you, if you need help with that, to go and take a look at that video on hem stitching. Okay.